Hello guys, this is chapter 2 from the book You Can Win by Chief Kera. The title of chapter 2 says How to Build a Positive Attitude. Any fact facing us is not as important as our attitude towards it, for that determines our success or failure. Norman Vincent Peale. During childhood, we form attitudes that last a lifetime. Undoubtedly, it would be easier to acquire a positive attitude during our formative years. If the combination of your inborn temperament and your early childhood experiences have produced a positive attitude, you are indeed very fortunate. But if you have acquired a negative attitude, whether by design or by default, are you stuck with it? Of course not. Can you change? Yes. Is it easy? Absolutely not. Is it worth it? You bet. How do you build and maintain a positive attitude? Become aware of the principles that build a positive attitude. Desire to be positive. Cultivate the discipline and the dedication to practice those principles. As adults, regardless of our environment, education, and experience, who is responsible for our attitude? We are. We have to accept responsibility for our behavior and actions. Some people blame everyone and everything but themselves. It's up to us to choose our attitude every morning. People with negative attitudes often blame the whole world, their parents, teachers, spouse, bosses, the stars, fate, luck, the economy, and the government for their failures. You have to get away from the past. Dust yourself off and get back into the mainstream. Put your dreams together and move forward. Thinking of the positive things that are true, honest, and good will put you in a positive state of mind. Steps to attitude change. If you want to build and maintain a positive attitude, you need to consciously practice the following steps. Step 1. Change focus. Look for the positive. You need to become a seeker of good. You need to focus on the positive in your life. Start looking for what is right in a person or situation instead of looking for what's wrong. Because of our conditioning, most of us are so attuned to finding fault and looking for what's wrong that we often forget to see the positive picture. Look for the gold. Andrew Carnegie came to America from Scotland as a young boy. He started out by doing odd jobs and ended up as one of the largest steel manufacturers in the United States. At one time, he had 43 millionaires working for him. $1 million is a lot of money today, but in the 1920s, it was worth much more. Someone once asked Mr. Carnegie how he dealt with people. Andrew Carnegie replied, "Dealing with people is a lot like digging for gold. When you go digging for an ounce of gold, you have to move tons of dirt. But when you go digging, you don't go looking for the dirt, you go looking for the gold." Andrew Carnegie's reply has a very important message. Though sometimes it may not be apparent there is something positive in every person and every situation, we have to dig deep to look for the positive. What's your focus? Search for the gold? If you are looking for what is wrong with people or with things, you will find many faults. What are we looking for? Gold or dirt? Even in paradise, fault finders will find faults. Most people find what they are looking for. Some people will always look for the negative. Negative people will always criticize. Some people criticize no matter what. It does not matter how well something is done, they will always find fault with it. They have made a career out of criticizing. They are career critics. They criticize as if they will win a prize at a contest. They will find fault with every person and every situation. You will find people like this in every family and office. They go around finding fault and telling everybody how bad things are and blaming the whole world for their problems. These people are energy suckers. They will go to the cafeteria and drown themselves in 20 cups of tea and coffee and smoke to their heart's content with one excuse: they are trying to relax. All that they are doing is causing more tension for themselves and for others around them. They spread negative messages like a plague and create an environment conducive to negative results. Robert Fulton invented a steamboat. He displayed his new invention on the banks of the Hudson River. Among the crowd who had gathered around to observe the steamboat were some pessimists and skeptics. They commented that it would never start. But lo and behold, it did. As it made its way down the river, the pessimists who said it would never start saw it start. Immediately shouted now it would never stop. What an attitude! There was a hunter who bought an amazing bird dog. This one of a king dog could walk on water. The hunter was looking forward to showing off his new acquisition to his friends. He invited a friend to go duck hunting. After some time, they shot a few ducks and then the man ordered his dog to fetch the birds. All day long, whenever there were birds to be fetched, the dog ran on water to retrieve the birds. The owner was expecting his friend to comment or compliment him about his amazing dog, but never got one. As they were returning home, he asked his friend if he had noticed anything unusual about his dog. The friend replied, "Yes, in fact, I did notice something unusual. Your dog can't swim." Some people always look at the negative side. Who is a pessimist? Pessimists are unhappy when they have no troubles to speak of, feel bad when they feel good, for fear they will feel worse when they feel better, spend most of their life at complaint counters, always turn out the lights to see how dark it is, are always looking for cracks in the mirror of life, stop sleeping in bed when they hear that more people die in bed than anywhere else, cannot enjoy their health because they think they may sick tomorrow, not only expect the worst but make the worst of whatever happens. Don't eat the definite, only the whole. Believe that the sun shines only to cast shadows. Forget their blessings and count their troubles. Know that hard work never hurts anyone, but believe, why take a chance? Caution. Looking for the positive does not necessarily mean overlooking faults. Be an optimistic. How can one be an optimist? It's well described by the following. Be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind. talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet. Make all your friends feel that you appreciate their good qualities and strengths. Look at the sunny side of everything. Think only of the best, work only for the best, and expect only the best. Be as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. Forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. Give everyone a smile. Spend so much time improving yourself that you have no time left to criticize others. Be too big for worry and too noble for anger. Step 2. Make a habit of doing it now. He slept beneath the moon. He basked beneath the sun. He lived a life of going to do and died with nothing done. James Albury. We have all procrastinated at some time in our lives. I know I have, only to have regretted it later. Procrastination leads to a negative attitude. The habit of procrastination fatigues you more than the effort it takes to do it. A completed task is fulfilling and energizing. An incomplete task drains energy. If you want to build and maintain a positive attitude, get into the habit of living in the present and doing it now. When I become a big boy. This is like the little boy who says when he becomes a big boy, he will do this and that and will be happy. And when he becomes a big boy, he said that when he finishes college, he will be happy. And when he finishes college, he said that when he gets his first job, he will be happy. And when he gets his first job, he says that when he gets married, then he will be happy. And when he gets married, he says when the kids get out of school, he will be happy. And when the kids get out of school, he says that when he retires, he will be happy. And when he retires, what does he see? He sees life has just gone by in front of his eyes. Some people practice procrastination by hiding behind high-sounding words, saying, I am analyzing, and 6 months later, they are still analyzing. What they don't realize is that they are suffering from a disease called paralysis by analysis, and they will never succeed. Then there is another breed of people who procrastinate by saying, I am getting ready. A month later, they are still getting ready, and 6 months later, they are still getting ready. What they don't realize is they are suffering from a disease called excuses. They keep making excuses. Live in the present. Life is not a dress rehearsal. I don't care what philosophy you believe in, we have got only one shot at this game called life. The stakes are too high to waste your life. The stakes are the future generations. What time is it and where are we? The answer is now, and we are here. Let's make the best of now and utilize the present to the fullest. The message is not that we don't need to plan for the future. The message is that we do need to plan for the future. If we reutilize our present to its fullest, we are sowing the seeds for a better future. If you want to build a positive attitude, learn the phrase "do it now" and stop the habit of procrastination. The saddest words in life are, it might have been, I should have, I could have, I wish I had, if only I had given a little extra. Never live till tomorrow. which you can do it today. Benjamin Franklin. I'm sure all winners wanted to be procrastinators but never got around to it. When people say, I will do it one of these days, you can be sure it means none of these days. Some people keep waiting for all the lights to turn green before they leave home. They will never happen. They fail even before they start. That is sad. Stop procrastinating. Is it time that we put off putting things off? Step 3. Develop an attitude of gratitude. Count your blessings, not your troubles. Take time to smell the roses. It's not uncommon to hear that someone, because of an accident, became blind or paralyzed, but won $1 million in a settlement. How many of us would like to trade places with that person? Not many. We are so focused on complaining about things we do not have that we lose sight of the things we have. There is a lot to be thankful for. When I say count your blessings, not your troubles, I don't mean that you should become complacent. Attitude of gratitude does not mean complacency. If complacence was the message you got, then I would be guilty of faulty communication and you of selective listening. To give you an example of selective listening, let me share with you a story I heard about a medical doctor who was invited as a guest speaker to address a group of alcoholics. He wanted to make a demonstration that would be powerful enough to make people realize that alcohol was injurious to their health. He had 2 containers, one with pure distilled water and one with pure alcohol. He put an earthworm into the distilled water and it swam beautifully and came up to the top. He put another earthworm into the alcohol and it disintegrated in front of everyone's eyes. He wanted to prove that this was what alcohol did to the insides of our body. He asked the group what the moral of the story was, and one person from behind said, if you drink alcohol, you will not have worms in your stomach. Was that the message? Of course not. That was selective listening. We hear what we want to hear and not what is being said. Many of our blessings are hidden treasures. Count your blessings and not your troubles. Step 4. Get into a continuous education program. Let's get some myths out of the way. It's a general belief that we get educated in schools and colleges. During my seminars in many different countries, there is a question I often ask my audience. Do we really get educated in schools and colleges? Generally, there is a consensus that some people do, but most don't. Don't get me wrong, we receive a lot of information in schools and colleges. We do need information to be educated, but we also need to know the true meaning of education. Intellectual education influences the head and values-based education influences the heart. In fact, education that does not train the heart can be dangerous. If you want to build character in our offices, homes, and society, we must achieve a minimum level of moral and ethical literacy. Education that builds fundamental traits of character, such as honesty, compassion, courage, persistence, and responsibility, is absolutely essential. We don't need more academic education, we need more value-based education. A person who is morally educated will be a lot better equipped to move up in life or succeed than will a morally bankrupt person with excellent academic qualifications. Education without values. Universities are turning out highly skilled barbarians because we don't provide a framework of values to young people who more and more are searching for it. Stephen Murrell, President, Johns Hopkins University. True education is training of both the head and the heart. An educated thief may steal from the freight car, but an educated one may steal the entire railroad. We need to compete for knowledge and wisdom and not for grades. Knowledge is peeling up facts. Wisdom is simplifying it. One could have good grades and a degree and still not learn much. The most important thing one can learn is to learn to learn. People confuse education with the ability to memorize facts. Educating the mind without morals creates a maniac in society. Knowledge is not power. We often are told that knowledge is power. Not really. Knowledge is information. It is potential power, and it becomes power only when it is acted upon. What is the difference between a person who cannot read and a person who can, but does not read? As Benjamin Franklin said, not a whole lot. Learning is a lot like eating. It's not how much you eat that matters. What matters is how much you digest. Knowledge is potential power. Wisdom is real power. Education takes many forms. It's not just grades and a degree. It is cultivating your strengths, learning self-discipline, listening, eagerness to learn. Our minds are like muscles, stretch or shrink. It all depends on how much or how little we exercise them. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Derek Book. Education does not mean good judgment. There is a story about a man who sold hot dogs by the roadside. He was illiterate, so he never read newspapers. He was hard of hearing, so he never listened to the radio. His eyes were weak, so he never watched television. But enthusiastically, he sold lots of hot dogs. His sales and profits went up. He ordered more meat and got himself a bigger and a better stove. As his business was growing, the son, who had recently graduated from college, joined his father. Then something strange happened. The son asked, "Dad, aren't you aware of the great recession that is coming our way?" The father replied, "No, but tell me about it." The son said, "The international situation is terrible. The domestic situation is even worse. We should be prepared for the coming bad times." The man thought that since his son had been to college, read the papers, and listened to the radio, he ought to know, and his advice should not be taken lightly. So the next day, the father cut down his order from the meat and buns, took down the sign, and was no longer as enthusiastic. Very soon, fewer and fewer people bothered to stop at his hot dog stand, and his sales started coming down rapidly. The father said to his son, "Son, you were right. We are in the middle of a recession. I'm glad you warned me ahead of time." What morals can we take away from this story? 1. Our expectations can create a self-fulfilling prophecy. 2. Many times we confuse intelligence with good judgment. 3. A person may have high intelligence but poor judgment. 4. Choose your advisors carefully, but use your own judgment. 5. A person can and will be successful with or without formal education if they have the 5 C's: character, commitment, conviction, courtesy, and courage. 6. The tragedy is that there are many walking encyclopedias who are living failures. Intelligence is quickness to learn. Skill is an ability. Competence is the ability along with the willingness and desire to apply what is learned. Desire is the attitude that makes a skillful person competent. Many skillful people are incompetent. Ability without the right attitude is wasted. The first duty of a university is to teach wisdom, not trade; character, not technicalities. Winston Churchill. What does it mean to be educated? Whom then do I call educated? First, those who manage well the circumstances which they encounter day by day, and those who can judge situations appropriately as they arise and rarely miss the suitable course of action. Next, those who are honorable in their dealings with all men, bearing easily what is unpleasant or offensive in others, and being as reasonable with their associates as inhumanly possible. Furthermore, those who hold their pleasures always under control and are not unduly overcome by their misfortunes, bearing up under them bravely and in a manner worthy of our common nature. Most important of all, those who are not spoiled by their success, who do not desert their true selves, but hold their ground steadfastly as wise and sober-minded men, rejoicing no more in the good things that have come to them so chance than in those which through their own nature and intelligence are theirs since birth. Those who have a character which is in accord not with one of these things, but with all of them, these are educated, possessed of all the virtues. Socrates. In a nutshell, educated persons are those who choose wisely and courageously under any circumstances. If they choose between wisdom over foolishness, good over bad, virtue over vulgarity, regardless of the academic degrees they have, then they are educated. What is a broad-based education? Some animals in a forest decided to start a school. The students included a bird, a squirrel, a fish, a dog, a rabbit, and a mentally retarded eel. A board was formed to determine the curriculum, and it was decided that flying, tree climbing, swimming, and burrowing would give a broad-based education. All animals were required to take all subjects. The bird was excellent at flying and was getting A's, but when it comes burrowing, it kept breaking its beak and wings and started failing. Pretty soon, it started making C's in flying, and of course, at tree climbing and swimming, it was getting F's. The squirrel was getting at tree climbing, but was failing in swimming. The fish was the best swimmer, but couldn't get out of the water and thus got F's in every else. The dog didn't join the school, stopped paying taxes, and kept fighting with the administration to include barking as part of the curriculum. The rabbit got A's in burrowing, but tree climbing was a real problem. It kept falling and landing on its head, suffering brain damage, and soon couldn't even burrow properly and got C's in that too. The mentally retarded eel, who did everything half as well, became the valedictorian of the class. The board was happy because everybody was getting a broad-based education. A true broad-based education prepares students for life without losing their areas of specialization and competence. We are all gifted with some strengths. The small size of the hummingbird, weighing only a tenth of an ounce, gives it the flexibility to perform complicated maneuvers, such as beating its wings 75 times a second. This enables the hummingbird to drink nectar from flowers while hovering, but it cannot soar, glide, or hop. The ostrich, at 300 pounds, is the largest bird, but it can't fly.